We need to tell the truth. The truth is, Washington is corrupt.
The phony scandals.
You like your current insurance, you keep that insurance. Period. End of story.
Benghazi, Benghazi, Benghazi.
Dude, this was like 2 years ago.
I've got a pen and I've got a phone.
Because if you got a business, that you didn't build that.
Defend the Constitution. All of it.
But freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it.
Your weekly 60-minute slice of common sense conservatism and ADHD is about to begin. Broadcasting from the Kensington Place studios, it's Jason DeWilkins, and it's time for According to Me.
Here it comes! Global warming! We didn't listen! Come on, hurry! It's right behind us! It's coming the other way!
Run for your life, folks. Global warming, it's on its way. From the Kensington Place studios. This is, according to me, Barack Obama and John Boehner's second most hated internet radio program. What's going on this evening, folks? We have an action-packed show for you today. We're going to talk towards the back half of the show about why the GOP sucks and why I have a big I told you so moment. We're also going to talk about, we're going to have a little Super Bowl theme for this week's Ass Hat of the Week. But, before we get into all the fun things we're going to talk about here on the show, let's get into propers really quick. Hammer?
We're about to break them off something proper.
Stop propers time. When it comes to the Twitter...
I am on Twitter. In fact, I can Twitter right now.
No, I'm not going to Twitter right now. But you can Twitter right now if you want to while you're listening to the show, and you can also, while you're on there, follow me on Twitter at ATM_show. That is ATM_SHOW, where you get a slice of common sense, conservatism, and ADHD in 140 characters or less. And again, while you're on the Twitters, follow at Politainment on Twitter as well, at POLITITAINMENT. See, I spelled it. It's super simple. Rolls off the tongue. Real easy to spell. But if you follow Sam, if you follow me, if you follow Angie or Paul or Daniel, the part of the 4-hour Politainment hour that you're listening to right now, any of us were on Politainment as well, so just, you'll find us that way. Pretty simple. But make sure you do that. By the way, breaking news.
Ethel Stefner just wrote on my wall.
Oh, yeah? What'd she say?
She says, get your wrinkly ass down to bingo this Thursday, biatch.
Ethel did totally write that on my wall. I mean, we're good like that. Why wouldn't she write that? She wrote that. Later on this weekend, she's going to ask me to get my ass down to pinochle biatch, all those things. And how can she write that? Because she likes the According to Me show on Facebook, and you should do the same thing. Go to facebook.com/According to Me show. Click like. You'll get all the things we talk about on the show, links to the podcasts and other things that we talk about during the program during the week. Snarky, smart-ass stuff that we typically do. Plus, I share all the Politainment stuff on there. And speaking of Politainment, you can also like Politainment on Facebook. Again, facebook.com/Politainment. Good things where you can get links of all the podcasts, all the things that we do on Facebook. I know you're on Facebook. I get your Candy Crush requests. We all do. And by the way, speaking of that, if you invite me to play games on Facebook,
I'd unfriend you. That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
No, I believe that is how it works when you send me Candy Crush requests. I'm just saying. I have the right to do that. I'm going to because don't care. Oh, and a lot of people ask me, Jason, are you on Instagram or Tumblr or Snapchat? No, the answer is no. And why?
Because I'm too old to waste my time.
I am too old for that stuff. I'm spending my time on Politainment.net. Yeah, our website. You should probably check it out, actually. Not only is it a place where, again, you'll get links to all the podcasts if you missed the show live, but this past week we had some great, original content on there. You saw our tribute to Deflategate. If you haven't got a chance to check that out, we'll play that for you later on in the program. Also, a personal family reflection in regards to the Holocaust from Angie. It was a great piece. She doesn't write much, so she was kind of nervous, but it was awesome. It was an awesome piece. Yeah, I mean, we really didn't do much with the site until we launched our shows January 8th here on the 405. And so if you think about it, the feedback we've gotten so far and the traffic we've gotten on the website is just completely unexpected, just way more than we ever thought. We have you to thank for that. But make sure that you continue to go there. We're putting new content on there as often as possible. Make sure you tell some friends. And by the way, if this happens to be you,
I hate social media.
It's okay. We can still be friends. Just send me an email if you need to communicate that. jason@polititainment.net. Simple stuff. This week's show is ALGOREaphobia. And I want you to know that agoraphobia is an intense fear and anxiety of being in places where it's hard to escape or where help might not be available. And ALGOREaphobia is really the same thing. When you think of what hit the Northeast this week, and certainly New York, it's ALGOREaphobia, and that is the fear of being in places where it is hard to escape due to climate change. That's what ALGOREaphobia is. And, by the way, hey, did you know that in the Northeast in January, it is cold enough and there are high enough winds and snow in January in the Northeast? But apparently, that's the biggest news story. And what was great about it is seeing the obvious full mainstream media slant when it comes to anything involving New York. Especially since, it's the biggest news in the country. There's snow coming to New York. And I know it's the biggest city in the country, but for God's sake, it's snow in January in the Northeast. How is that news? I live in the Midwest, and I remember this time last year, there was, we had the polar vortex, right? We had 16 inches of snow in 24 hours. CNN wasn't here. You didn't have my mayor shutting down the whole damn town, did you? Now, let me say for the record, I wouldn't expect CNN to be here in my hometown because, once again, it is cold and there's snow in January in the Midwest. It's not news, just like it's not news in the Northeast. You have people like reporters going, I'm outside and there's snow here. That's the top news story. But if you're a fellow flat earther like me, someone who believes that climate change is really nothing more than a wealth redistribution pyramid scheme, because that's what it is, backed by junk and corrupt science, then you, my friend, need to remember this week. Please commit it to memory. Here's why. My 11-year-old son, we've talked about him on the program before. He's in 6th grade, and he has for years gotten the public school, we need to recycle and be good to our earth BS for years. And so when Daddy has to explain all of this bullcrap, here's how I do it. So if you have kids and they're subjected to this BS, here's how you do it. Real simple. What you do is you pay attention to your local weathermen. Say in regards to weather, especially like on weekends, when they're off of school, and that's kind of a big deal. And, maybe they play sports on certain days, they have games, practices, etc. But have your child check what the weather is going to be the next day. Have them check the local weather. Don't just tell them, have them check. And what they will see is they will have read last night that it was supposed to be sunny and warm on a mid-September day, and instead it rained all day and it's like 40 degrees. And what they'll see has been my argument for years, which is, and this week's snowpocalypse is a perfect example of that. Your local, even national weatherman can't predict the weather from one day to the next at times. You thought you were going to get 30 inches of snow, and in a matter of 12 hours, you got 4. But yet, it's a 50-50 shot for your local weatherman or even national weather to predict what the weather's going to be like in your town 24 hours before it's supposed to happen. But yet I'm supposed to buy and believe research from climate experts predicting that weather in 30 years and how it's settled science, right? It's absolutely certifiable this is what's going to happen. Are you kidding? And that is how I taught my oldest about climate change. Just have them pay attention to the weather. And they'll see when the forecasts aren't coming close to being right, let alone 30-year predictions of what the planet conditions are going to be. They're going to go, this is BS. What, you think? I mean, you had 30 inches of predicted snow in New York City for a total of 4 inches of snow. You had Commie de Blasio out there, right? Bringing the largest city in the country. And it just comes to a screeching halt. You close the subway system. Think of that. Subways are underground. Why in the hell are you doing that? You had businesses closed. You had the mayor telling people to run out of the store and stock up on milk and stock up on bread and eggs. And you... You had kale and vegan gluten-free pizza missing off of all the shelves in New York. Only in New York City do people fight over kale in a grocery store. That was great. You see the line of the people at Whole Foods in New York City? Or as I call them, Whole Foods paycheck? It's laughable. I mean, people were panicking and just loading up on organic $7 cucumbers because, they've never seen snow in New York before. Commie de Blasio even asked people not to walk the night of the quote-unquote snowfall. Don't walk. Stay in your home. Again, think about this. How much money goes in and out of New York City on a daily basis? It was predicted that $700 million was the impact to New York City for this snow day that didn't happen. Think of like the local pizza shop owner, Wall Street, public transit. Now, let's not forget all the flights that were canceled in New York, LaGuardia, and JFK. It's unbelievable. And again, I get it. It's okay to be prepared. But to proactively shut down the subways, the airports, the bridges, in and out of Brooklyn or Manhattan based on, well, for sure, certain weather information. How'd that turn out for you? And most people go, well, better safe than sorry. I guess that's all right. But what's great is it didn't even just stop there. Washington, D.C. schools, the night before the snowfall, Monday night, they're like, we're closed. Oh, this snowmageddon's going to happen. We got to close now. So kids wake up going, snow day. This is awesome. We're off of school. And, hey, Mommy, Daddy, why is there no snow on the ground? I thought there'd be snow. That's why we're not having school, right? No snow in Washington, D.C. Let's cancel school. Because climate is so predictable, right? Take it to the bank. You know what it's going to be. And you saw the Prince of Wales, he's demanded this came out, he's demanded the Magna Carta for the earth. This is his new thing now. He's making sure that he's going out there and spreading the word about climate change and having a Magna Carta, which I find ironic because, of course, the Magna Carta, as we know, was a document to reduce the powers of the king, and yet here is the prince going to take it upon himself to increase the powers that he has to minimize climate change. That's his weather Magna Carta. Al Gore must be like, again, full-blown chubby on this one. But this isn't just Prince Charles. You have Obama, you have the Pope. You have Pharrell. That's right, baby. Pharrell Williams. He's involved in this. You got to bring all the big stars in. If you got to sell bull crap, you got to bring a bunch of, street cred to the game. You got to have Pharrell in there. Because I'm hippie. Clap along if you feel I'm a big old stupid douche. Because I'm hippie. Clap along if you feel that there's no freaking proof. Anyway, so all the cards are in, baby. We are going to make sure this happens. We've got to seal the deal because climate change is coming for all of us. These are the same people, if I have any skepticism whatsoever about their phony baloney science or raise questions about shutting down coal plants in exchange for wind and solar farms that don't work with a dam. And when I mentioned global cooling in the 70s, and then it was acid rain and ozone layer erosion in the 80s, global warming in the 90s, and climate change in the 2000s, because your science is being proven time after time to be bullcrap. I'm the flat earther. I'm the ignorant person who doesn't understand it. But my kids get it because there are just certain things old people like you don't understand, Jason. But the kids, they understand. Sure. But if you think about it, really, the name of climate change itself is brilliant because it's weather. It's always changing. So saying global cooling and not having data to support it, and then saying it's global warming is happening and not having the data to support it, and you can just call it climate change, and you can keep that term forever. If you think about it. If it's in the high 80s in September in the Midwest, that's climate change. If it snows in April in the Midwest, it's climate change. If you get very little snow in December, it's climate change. But if you get huge amounts of snow in January, well, that's also climate change. You see? Lack of hurricanes during hurricane season, climate change. Large outbreaks of tornadoes, climate change. Wildfires, climate change. Lots of rain, climate change. Drought, climate change. It's genius. Because remember last year is when guys like me commented on the polar vortex, remember? You had Chicago that had the lowest temperatures ever recorded in the history of the city in January of last year. And this just in, Chicago's kind of already cold normally anyway. So when guys like me point this out and we say, hey, what's up with that? You know, I thought we were like entering the times of epic warmness. You get this kind of response. Stuff like this.
The most important thing to get across is today doesn't mean a load of bantha crap. It's trends that matter. Climate is weather over time. And as time marches on, the climate has changed, thus climate change.
See, you get it? That's what it is. It doesn't matter. Little periods of weather don't matter. You got to look at the big picture. Look at trends, right? I mean, Al Sharpton said the same thing.
These right-wingers are boiling over with denial. Just because it snows in winter doesn't mean the planet isn't getting warmer.
Al, stop shouting. Seriously. if you're new to the program, I have a theory about Al Sharpton, by the way, on a side note. Have you ever talked to somebody who has headphones in their ear and they're listening to music really loud and they have a good pair of headphones on, and then you say, hey, what do you want for dinner? And they go, what? Huh? Dinner? What? Oh, yeah, I'd like, I don't know, pizza sounds good. And you're like, dude, shh. Oh, sorry, my headphones are on. That's Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton has permanent embedded headphones planted in his head. He has to. Because the guy talks over his normal voice, just that maybe he can hear himself talk. I don't know, maybe he's deaf. I have no idea. But quiet, Al. But these right-wingers are boiling over with denial. Just because it's cold doesn't mean the planet isn't getting warmer, right? Again, trends. This was last year. Polar vortex. Both of those sound clips are from last year. Guys, you freaking crazy flat earther right-wingers. Where's the global warming at? Okay, yeah, it's cold. Well, that's part of climate change. Don't you realize? I say that because then we go to my good friend, Bill Nye, the mechanical engineer guy. And I call him that, of course, because Bill Nye isn't a scientist. And yet he's on TV as the expert all things science. And to me, that's laughable because only Bill Nye can pull this off. He's not a scientist, yet he plays a scientist and no one questions it. That would be like, I'm a big sports fan. They'd be like, all right, welcome back to ESPN. We're going to talk the Super Bowl and the upcoming matchup between the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. They have a great game. Deflategate took a lot of people's attention away from what's going to be a really good game this Sunday. Joining us on the show is Jason D. Wilkins. Now, Jason is a big sports fan. He watches a lot of sports. And he's an expert on football because he watches a lot of it and he thinks it's fun. Jason, welcome. You would never pull that off. You'd be like, who's this goof? He's the expert of football? Put him right next up to like Michael Irvin and be like, hey, I'm Jason. How you doing? I don't know anything about, well, I know football because I watch a lot of it. And it's interesting. It's kind of like a hobby of mine. I really study up on football. But, I don't do it for a living or anything. What do I know? It's just hilarious. But Bill Nye pulls this off. But again, remember, patterns matter. Patterns matter. Don't look at what's happening now. Patterns matter. With that said, listen to this insanity.
Introduce the idea that this storm is connected to climate change. I want to introduce that idea. I know there'll be certain viewers who will become unglued. They're throwing things at their television sets and so on. But the economic effect of storms like this is huge. You cancel half the flights out of the world's, or one of the world's busiest airports. Certainly, the Eastern Seaboard is a very busy area economically for airplane travel. And so when you start having these big storms and you don't have the infrastructure to deal with it, you're costing your society a lot of money. And we're in the developed world where we can handle this stuff. So I just want to introduce the idea that the strong winds that we had in Southern California, the very strong winds that will be associated with this storm in the next couple days, these could be connected to climate change. Now, proving any one storm is connected, especially cold weather events, is quite difficult. But I just want to present that.
Now listen to what he just said. First of all, again, hypocrisy from what you heard last year, right? Now, well, I just want to throw out there this crazy-ass snowstorms due to climate change. Just saying. You heard him say that, but then he says it at the beginning. I mean, if you really break that statement down, I could spend a half hour on this statement. I'm not going to, but I could, because you could talk at the beginning. He goes like, well, I just want to point out there that when you see crazy weather like this, climate change, hello, this is why you get snow in January in New York. It never has happened before. It's happening now. Why? Climate change. And then you heard like the last 15 seconds. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that like this storm, for example, or any particular storm is a result of climate change. But again, if you remember what I said 45 seconds ago, it's probably due to climate change, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is. So I just talked in a circle for a minute on national television because I'm Bill Nye, the mechanical engineer guy. Unbelievable. It's just, again, climate change. You can make it whatever you want to be. Because when you talk about facts, it's like, well, the facts are on our side. I'm not a scientist, but I can tell you it's getting warm. Okay, well, let's go through. You have facts. Let me give you some. Here's number one. Al Gore talked, the polar vortex and the polar ice caps specifically are melting at a rapid rate, and the Arctic ice shelves will be ice-free by the end of 2013. All right, so we're in 2015 now. Arctic ice is at a 10-year peak right now. And within the standard deviation of what satellite-era averages has been since 1979. It's about what it's kind of always been. Furthermore, one can only wonder why 79 was the selected year in the first place, is why they started looking at satellite imaging in the first place, but we'll get into that later. But you can look at pictures from 1964 that show that the polar ice caps were actually less than they were ever in the 90s and 2000s. That's weird, because I thought we have this incredible hockey stick out of control warming thing going on. I mean, you remember the dumbasses stuck on the ship trying to prove that global warming was fake and they got stuck in ice? Or excuse me, trying to prove that global warming was real and they get stuck in ice? The Australian hippies were like, all right, mate, we're going to go down to, South Pole, and we're going to prove that it's all melted down there, and they're going to go down there, and we're going to prove that, it's global warming's out of control, and, it's closest to us because we're down under, you see, and that's just what it is. And then they get stuck in frickin' ice. And then a rescue ice boat comes, and they get stuck in frickin' ice. And so they had to be lowered, they had to be taken out by helicopter to get their dumbasses back to Australia because they're in the middle of the Arctic Ocean where it's frozen solid while you go down there to prove that climate change is happening. It's the best story of all time. I need to remind you of that, I guess. Well, let's look at the hockey stick. Let's talk about this. Think of this. Bob Dole won the Republican primary as a presidential candidate at this time. Tupac was shot and killed at this time. Yeah, those things happened in August and September of 1996. That's the last time we have had any warming whatsoever on record. Again, the same satellite I talked to you about before has been looking at it since 1979. Shows no global warming whatsoever for the last 217 months. That is 18 years, 4 months. Excuse me, 821 months. 18 years, 4 months. Now, again, 1979 to now, it's been 430 months. 217, that's more than half the time. There's been absolutely no warming whatsoever. So for a 15-year period, there was warming, and for a 18-year period, there was warming. Another 18-year period, it was cooling, and so it's about zero. Okay, but again, the fastest measured recording of the highest increase in actual temperature lasted 40 years, from 1694 to 1733. And don't you remember how incredibly fuel inefficient the Hummers were back then? I mean, air conditioners were just awful. You remember all the booming industry going on at that time back in the late 1600s in England? Oh my God, it was huge. What about here? Oh, man, we were just cranking out iPhones at that time. The amount of oil production, whoo, man, oh man, those were the good old days of high production and manufacturing with all these pollutants and really gas inefficient vehicles, and people were just burning tires in backyards. All those things were going on, right? I mean, you remember those days. Oh, wait. There's half the people on the planet that were there then than they are now. But yet, that was the warmest time. You see, these are my facts, and maybe they're right. Maybe they're wrong. But I'm willing to say I have information that I've read that may not be correct. I can say that. Who knows? However, that same benefit of the doubt isn't given to the other side. Simply questioning the scientific data on their side is idiotic. You're a flat earther. A friend of mine isn't a full-blown hippie, but his argument is, well, do you honestly think, with all the cars we drive, the pollutants we put in the air, the amount of people we have on the planet, that we have no impact whatsoever on the planet? My answer is, I don't know. Maybe that's a little too simplistic of an approach. You know, I guess I believe God created the heavens and the earth and created man to be here on the earth, and so I think he's got our back on that one. I don't know. Maybe that's too simplistic of a view. That's just how I feel. Now, is it possible we're the reason for climate change? Maybe. Could also be possible that we collectively can't control that. Maybe it's bigger than us. Again, let's take God out of this equation altogether. And let's just look at science, apparently, because that's, again, settles all debates. It's always right. With the information I just gave you, what case can you make that we are causing climate change? Your certifiable science is all over the frickin' map. And the reason I'm so critical of it is very large and very powerful countries, including ours, are making monumental and economic impacting decisions when it comes to taxes, energy, industry, over theories that are proven to not be accurate whatsoever. Remember, the Earth was flat before. Remember, scientists said it was flat until a certain discoverer said, I think it's round. I'm going to prove that. And then he did prove it, and scientists were like, damn, we were wrong. Wow. But isn't that funny? Because now when I say that I have a doubt about climate change, I'm denying what scientists are saying. I'm the flat earther. Wow, because the flat earth idea came from scientists in the first place. Isn't that funny? Algoreaphobia, folks. Catch it. All right, coming up next, I'm going to have a see I told you so moment when it comes to our good friends, the GOP. Oh, it's going to be glorious. That and more. Stick around. According to me, I'll be back soon.
You're on the 405.
Here's a story of an AFC team that once again was in the Super Bowl. They have a weirdo coach who always mumbles and dresses like a 12-year-old. Here's a story of a man named Brady who would only play with footballs of his own. There were 12 balls in a bag together, their whereabouts unknown. Then one day Brady threw an interception, and the Colts coaching staff was appalled. The Patriots are now a top news story, and we want to know about Tom Brady's balls. Tom Brady's balls. Tom Brady's balls. Deflategate is all about Tom Brady's balls.
Hey, listen, when according to me, unapologetically bunny, real serious nonsense, and the Stafford Voice all have back-to-back shows every Thursday night here on the 405, something magical happens when you put them all together. It's like peanut butter and jelly, cookies and milk, Joe Biden and his hair plugs. I mean, by themselves, they're great, but when you put them together, it's even better. Except for Joe Biden and his hair plugs. I mean, both of those things are awful by themselves, let alone put those together. Yeah, edit that part out.
You're on the 405.
Russia and Putin are dominating on the world stage. Radical Islamists have taken over almost every...
By your powers combined, I am Captain Planet!
If I only would have known that his show was going to be on there, I would have never invented the internet. According to me.
Welcome back, folks. By the way, join me in the chat room. I'll be in there. You got to join me. Anyway, so I don't like to rub things in all the time. You know, I hate to say a "see, I told you so" moment. I mean, I'm a dad. I have 4 kids. Sometimes you tell your kids, don't do that, and they do it, and you go, that's why I told you not to do that. And I have a joke for you. You know, Mitch McConnell and John Boehner walk into a cave. Ha! I'll be here all week. Tip your waitresses, try the veal. Anyway. See, the day after Election Day, I had a show. And this was at the time when conservatives, Republicans around the country were fist bumping and going, yeah, baby. Now, who owns the Senate? We do. Yeah, we're going to get stuff done now. That's right. What you going to do now, Obama? Yeah, we're in power. And see, that's completely stupid because that's not going to, well, let's just say nothing's going to change. See? I told you.
Yeah, let's be real. What is the Senate going to do about Obamacare? Nothing. What's the Senate going to do about the budget and our spending? Nothing. What are they going to do about the IRS scandal? Nothing. What are they going to do about the Benghazi investigation? Nothing. Because Republicans still are concerned about looking like the old angry white guys. And so they're so concerned of optics. What are they going to do about immigration? Nothing. Because they're still under the thought that they can somehow still win the Hispanic vote. And I'm going to sound like a broken record when I continue to say that for the last 30 plus years, Democrats have gotten 70% of the Hispanic vote regardless of who is in power. And yet these morons on the right who are in bed with the Chamber of Commerce and who also are of this crazy belief because they've lost the black vote, they've lost the gay vote, they've teeter on the women vote, they've lost the youth vote. They're like, well, maybe we can get Hispanics to like us. Nope, they never have, they never will vote for you, Mitch. It just doesn't happen. So they're going to do nothing in regards to that. Plus, they're handcuffed by the Chamber of Commerce, who's also scumbags, because they want cheap labor, and so they'll just look the other way. So I don't have any confidence in that changing anything. I hate to ruin everyone's day or week here in regards to, oh, what a great situation we have and what. Nope, sorry.
That was the day after Election Day. Yep. And so why do I play that little clip from a show 3 months ago? Well, maybe you haven't heard, but here are some of the things that your good old, grand old party is doing. Let's talk abortion. Man, see, there was a bill that was proposed to allow abortions past the 20-week mark. Now, of course, you know that's 5 months. Now, if you poll Americans, even the pro-choice people, they go, yeah, that's a little nuts. We're probably not okay with you being more than halfway through your pregnancy, or at least halfway through, being able to abort this thing, of course, pro-choice would never actually call it a life, but you get my point. Even they usually go, yeah, I'm kind of on the fence on that one. Of course, your pro-lifers certainly feel that way. So this is an overwhelmingly unpopular thing, but yet when it comes to the proposal, what do the Republicans do both in the House and the Senate? They cave. That's it. They're not going to take a stand at all. So we're seeing that. Let's look at amnesty, like I said before. They are in bed with the Chamber of Commerce. Everyone wants cheap labor. Everyone from a bit, it's good for business to have illegals here. That's what you hear all the time, right? So everyone looks the other way like it's not a big deal. But yet when it comes campaign time, what do they tell you? We need to secure our border. We need to build a fence. We need to kick illegals out of here. But when they have the chance to do something about it, what do? Nothing. Look at Obamacare. What are they going to do about that? Nothing. At all. They're just not going to change anything. And this is how I feel about the whole situation. Because when they had the House and they didn't have the majority of the Senate, what did you hear? Well, I mean, there's so much we can do. I mean, what do you want us to do? I mean, we got the House. Big flipping deal. We're writing all these bills for Harry Reid. He doesn't want to sign anything. He doesn't want us to approve anything. If we have the Senate, we're going to own things then. We'll get real things done. We'll get change done. We are going to make things happen, but we just need you to support us. You just need to get us over the finish line. You just need to get us in the majority of the Senate, and then we're going to get things done. We're going to tell this president where to stick it, right? That's what you heard. And people apparently believe that, because look what happened in the midterms. Yeah! Republicans win the House and the Senate. Now things are going to happen, right? At the same time, now what are you hearing? Well, I mean, the president's a Democrat. What do you want us to do? You know what we need? Listen, supporters, look, there's so much we can do when we own the entire legislative branch. There's only so much we can do. You know what we need? Once we win the presidency, then we will have a spine and balls. Then we will. Until then, I mean, what are we going to do? I mean, this is the president. So here's what I propose. Because they're saying this. A lot of them are saying this. Well, what are we supposed to do? I'm the president. He's in charge. I mean, what can we do? All right. So, with that said. So, in 2016, if a Democrat wins the election, and based on the turds that we have been throwing out there as the next one on the GOP side, well, that could very well happen. You could either have Pocahontas or you could have Hill. One of them has a good shot when they're running up against old Jebby Jeb. Right? So let's say Democrats win the presidency again. Why don't we then in 2018 fire all the Republicans? Because they just told you they can't do anything if they don't have the presidency. Makes sense, right? Because now that they have the ability to write and create and pass laws, they won't do it. And here's what I say, and I'll continue to say. Now, they passed the Keystone pipeline today. Whoopee-doo. That's good. One thing that you actually have some stones and some courage to do. But here's what I continue to propose, and this is what should continue to happen. I would write bill after bill after bill after bill after bill after flippin' bill. I would have Al Gore have a heart attack based on the amount of paper I have on the president's desk. I'd be like, oh my God, look at all the timber that was cut for all this paper. I would have bills stacked up to the ceiling on Obama's desk. And of course, I got a pen. So he's going to use this pen. Veto them all you want to. You better get a rubber stamp, dude. You better get like one of those auto pens because your hands are going to be tired because I'm going to be proposing bill after bill after bill. So you want to veto them all? Veto them all. But guess what? I'm going to be able to go. We, the Republican Party, are going to be able to go. We're going to be able to go to the American people. We're going to have town hall meetings. We're going to have meetings with people. We're going to say, hey, guess what? Are you pissed off about this? Well, we have a bill that's sitting on the president's desk that he won't sign. Hey, are you pissed off about this? Well, we have a bill that's on the president's desk that he won't sign. But instead, again, we as the Republican Party are more concerned about the optics. We're more concerned about being the party of old white people. And so we will cave and we will try to play nicey nice because apparently that's what gets us elected and it never, ever works. That's what they think. So that's what I propose. If they lose, if Democrats win the presidency in 2016, I say all Republicans get out. Why not? Because what's the point? Because you just said you can't do anything. So go for it. Until you have some courage, until you can convince me that you actually, want to do the right thing, then I'll listen. And I told you so, folks. I knew this was going to happen. I knew it. And there's some disappointing Republicans that are out there. Mia Love, for one. Because think about what it was. Just a couple weeks ago, you look at John Boehner and all the people who played kissy face with John Boehner. And what's the reason they played kissy face with John Boehner? Hey, look, I know Louis Gohmert's running and other people want to run. Look, we have to unite here because once we get Boehner back in charge, we're going to go after these guys, man. You don't even know. You just totes don't even know what we're going to do. Once we have Boehner here, it's done. We're going to kill people. Kill them. Trust me. Watch. You just watch. You just watch us. We're going to elect Boehner. I know people are freaked out. You just watch. You watch what happens in Washington, the amazing things we're going to do as a Republican-controlled House and Senate. For the first time in a long time, we are going to run the show. And there's nothing this president can do. And yet, here we are a couple weeks in, and what are we doing? What are we doing? Get out your spelunker gear because we're about to cave all the time on the right. And it continues. It continues. Thanks for joining me in the chat this evening. We're going to take one more quick little break. When we come back, however, we got some fun stuff coming your way. We're going to have a little Super Bowl conversation. You know, it's about that time. Plus, we have a Super Bowl related asshat of the week. It's going to be a lot of fun. Stick around. We'll be back.
You're on the 405.
Welcome to Miss Taliban 2015. I am John, and tonight I am joined with my co-host Steven. How are you?
I'm good, John, and I'm super excited to host Miss Taliban 2015 with you.
You know, Steven, I can't remember the last time I saw so many beautiful women.
So true, and it looks like tonight's theme is black. Not everyone can pull off the burqa like this group of contestants. John, what do you say we send it down to the stage to hear from some of our ladies?
I thought you'd never ask. Let's send it down to Michael for our question and answer portion.
Steven, John, thank you so much. I've got contestant A with me, and your question for tonight is, with the recent passing of the Saudi king, how do you think it will impact the region? Thank you, contestant A. Contestant B, your question is, what are your thoughts on the new burqa standards? Great answer, contestant B. Our final contestant of the night, contestant C. What is your recent reaction to the recent State of the Union speech by President Obama? Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. John, Steven, back to you.
Thank you, Michael. Steven, the judges have got their work cut out for themselves tonight.
You couldn't be any more correct. They really had their hands full during the swimsuit part of the competition. I don't know about you, but I know I've got my eyes on.
Well, it looks like our judges have tallied up their scores, and we are just about ready to announce the winner of Miss Taliban 2015.
You know, usually the previous winner will crown the next, but Miss Taliban 2014 was stoned to death for showing too much of her eyes. With that, let's find out who won, shall we?
It is with our distinct honor that this year's Miss Taliban 2015 is contestant C.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Your Miss Taliban 2015.
Breaking news.
This just in, Miss Taliban 2015 has been announced. However, There was so much excitement that it set off her suicide vest.
He's the honey badger of internet radio.
Oh, the honey badgers are just crazy.
According to me.
Ew, what's that in its mouth? Mouth.
Welcome back to the show, folks. Coming down the home stretch of the show, again, we're reading in the chat room, and we got some good feedback, and Pat Descent, who's in the chat room, talking about the commercials that we play here on the 4-hour Polititainment Hour. Look, we're just not going to give you show promo stuff. That's important. You got to hear what we're doing. You got to hear what's going on. But at the same time, you also, kind of sort of want to be entertained. That's what Polititainment's all about. That's what the 4-hour Polititainment Hour is all about. We do those all throughout the program. So you heard Brady's Balls earlier in the program, and you heard, of course, Miss Taliban 2015. We saw the swimsuit competition. We saw all the swimsuit competition for Miss Taliban. Woo! Too much TNA, toes and ankles. Craziness. Anyway, great stuff, and I'm definitely going to tune in next year. I missed it, which sucks. You can find it on YouTube. But, if you wanted to hear the audio, I at least wanted to play that for you. I just feel it was very well done, and I'm really sorry I missed it. But, Daniel, thank you for bringing that to the team and making sure that we can share that, because that's something we want to tune into next time around next year. Next year, I'm sure, is going to be much better. ISIS will take over, and the budget will be out of control for Miss Taliban 2015. Anyway, speaking of the 4-hour Polititainment Hour, up in about 10 minutes, you got my good friend, Sam Janney, the Polita Bunny herself, with Unapologetically Bunny at 9 p.m. Eastern. She has a great show prepared for you. She always does. Are you kidding? She's the bunny. I mean, that's just how it is. Again, if you're new to the program, I'm Jason from According to Me, and I am the crappy opening band of Polita Bunny. I'm like the crappy band. You're like, who are these guys? You're really here to see, like, Nickelback, because I know you guys are big Nickelback fans, right? And I'm like the crappy opening band for Nickelback. Oh wait, I just called Bunny Nickelback. That's an insult. But you get where I'm going with this. And then after that, you have Real Serious Nonsense at 10 o'clock with Angie and Paul. And then at 11 o'clock, you have Daniel Stafford, the Stafford Voice. Good stuff. And you'll see a theme. I just ranted on the GOP. I have a feeling the rest of the group isn't real happy with the repubs either, but I'm sure they'll share that with you. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. But we got the Super Bowl coming up, right? I mean, that's a good thing. If you're excited about the Super Bowl, I mean, most of the time has been spent talking about Deflategate, talking about balls, and that's, who wants to talk about balls for a week? So, I feel kind of bad in a way for the New England Patriots, because the media has gone crazy with, I think, is a non-story. And the reality is it had to be a huge distraction. But, you have the Emperor from Star Wars known as Bill Belichick, who's the head coach, and I'm sure he'll get him ready to go. But it should be a really good game. It really should be. You have two of arguably the best teams in the NFL playing in the Super Bowl, and that's how it should be. And I hope that the game is entertaining enough to not at the end of the game go, the halftime show was the best part of it. Because that's how it was last year. I mean, you saw the Seahawks-Broncos curb stomping. Holy crap. I mean, it was just, after going to the second half, you're like, who cares? Holy crap, these guys are so overmatched. Wasn't even funny. Just wasn't that entertaining of a game. First half was interesting, I guess. Halftime was the best part. You can say whatever you want, dude. Bruno Mars is a freaking rock star. Bruno Mars is great. Seriously, I had a friend of mine, compare him to like a modern day Sam Cooke. He's about the closest you're going to get, because Sam Cooke could do it all. He could dance, he could sing in different ways, he could play instruments. He was just incredibly talented. And Bruno Mars is. You can say whatever you want. The dude's a rock star. He's absolutely outstanding. He was great last year. Best part of the Super Bowl, in my opinion, was his performance at halftime. And it leads me, of course, to previous Super Bowls we've had, because most of them are awful. Most of the performances you've seen, you have Katy Perry this year. Who's excited for that? Raise your hands. In the chat room, raise your hands. I can't see it, but I'll go with it. No one. I'm not. No one is. I don't think. So at least I hope the game's good, so I don't have to go, wow, it's sad when Katy Perry's the best part of the halftime show. But most of the time, the NFL strikes out when it comes to who they have for halftime. Can we just have Slayer one time? Is that too much to ask? Can we just have Slayer perform live? What's the big deal? You have Megadeth come out for a song. You have Slayer out there. It'd be great. Gather around the TV, kids. Slayer's on. That'd be awesome. I don't know why we don't do that stuff. But instead, we bring out The Who. We bring out Paul McCartney. We bring out Tom Petty, who's, I guess, okay. And you bring out Katy Perry. Prince, however, Prince was really good. What was that, 2000? That was like 10 years ago, wasn't it? Man, yeah. 2005, the Bears were in the Super Bowl. Say what you want, Prince kicks ass, too. That was it. You have Prince and Bruno Mars. In the last 10 years, the only things that have been worth a damn when they actually performed for the Super Bowl. And by the way, before we get into the asshat of the week, it's a lot of fun to have prop bets. If you're like kind of half-assed interested in the Super Bowl, just do me a favor. Just Google prop bets, Super Bowl prop bets, and you'll see some fun things that everybody in the house will be interested in the Super Bowl, even if football's really not their thing, because you'll have like how long's the national anthem going to be, who's going to win the coin toss, things like that. Who scores the first touchdown? How is the first point scored? Is it a field goal? Is it a touchdown? Is it a defensive touchdown? You get it. It's a fun way to spend the Super Bowl. Me and the kids and my wife do that all the time. My wife always seems to win. And good point, Ron in the chat room mentioned that, if Katy Perry does have a wardrobe malfunction, well, that would be possibly worth watching. That'd be about it. I mean, maybe another, Janet had that. I'm sure it'll happen here. If that's the case, that would be the only thing good. Because everything else that Katy Perry does is, well, pretty awful, really. Speaking of awful, it is a Super Bowl-related asshat of the week.
It is time for this week's asshat of the week.
This asshat of the week has been, let's just say he's had an issue with the media for at least the last, say, 8 weeks. And this entire week, up until this week, he shows up and says the same 8 words every time. And that is our good friend and this week's asshat of the week, Marshawn Lynch. Because every time you'd ask Marshawn Lynch a question, he'd say the same 8 words. I'm just here so I won't get fined. That's it. That's all he says. All he says. To every question. Doesn't matter. Hey, what'd you have for breakfast today, Marshawn? I'm just here so I won't get fined. That's all he says. Now, let me be clear. Press conferences are arguably the dumbest thing on the planet. And maybe not the idea of press conferences, but the questions that are asked of people in a press conference are 99% of the time nonsense. Just like sideline reporters. Those people, Aaron Andrews is the biggest moron on the face of the planet. So, Marshawn, you scored a big touchdown. What were you thinking when you scored? What the hell do you think I was thinking? Yay, we won the game. What kind of question? And these are the questions that you ask, usually. So, Coach, are you disappointed that you lost in the Super Bowl? No, absolutely not. In fact, I think I was going to go party it up at the end of the night. I was going to get an 8-ball and a hooker and go back to my hotel room and just party it up for the rest of the weekend. What the hell kind of question is that? And these are the questions that get asked in press conferences, so I get it. I think they're stupid. I think they're a waste of time. With that said, hey, Marshawn, it's part of your job. Because, see, part of your job, sir, is, can I call you sir? Part of your job is to answer the media. And if you think it's not part of the job, it actually is. Because it's kind of part of the Players Association agreement with the NFL that you have to make yourself available to the media. And if you don't, you're going to get fined. Well, he doesn't want to get fined, so he shows up to the media and then crosses his arms and pouts like a baby because I don't want to talk. I ain't got nothing to say to y'all. Well, he comes out today, and he doesn't say, I'm just here so I won't get fined. But basically, he makes it even worse because he's like, y'all just against me. You just want me to say something dumb and then try to make headlines about it. That's why I'm not going to say anything. So I'm not saying anything to you anymore. You put cameras in my face when you know I don't have anything to say. It's a classic case of, y'all trying to catch me doing something. No, I got news for you, Marshawn. It's a classic case of somebody at your employer that you work at, right? Saying, that ain't my job description. Ain't my job. I ain't doing that. Someone else can do that. Someone else can sweep the floor. I don't care if there's a mess on it. Ain't my job. Not my job description. I don't get paid for that, right? You've heard that at work, and you want to punch those people in the face, don't you? It's the same thing. Because Marshawn, ain't nobody got time for that. He doesn't want to talk to the media. He doesn't want to be bothered. And again, press conferences are dumb. But Marshawn, it's part of your job. Quit being a baby. Quit being a spoiled little brat. Quit being a nuisance to your team. Quit being a cancer in the locker room. And quit being this week's Ass Hat of the Week.
Tune in next week for another exciting installment of Ass Hat of the Week.
Always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the light side of life.
That's going to put the finishing touches on this week's episode of According to Me. We did a lot of good things today. We talked about the spineless GOP. We talked about the Super Bowl halftime show being awful. We talked about Marshawn Lynch being an asset. Oh, and we talked about algoreaphobia, you know, the fear of being trapped by climate change that doesn't exist. Again, folks, I'm just breaking news. It's January, and next month is going to be February, and in certain parts of the country, it's still going to be cold, and it has nothing to do with climate change. We're glad you were here this evening, though. Stick around. Bunny's up next. We'll be back next week faster than you could say furious. And this has been This Week, According to Me. See you next week, America. Bye now.